Okay, so in the final weeks before the primary, Jesse Ventura shocks the world again by defending his honor, his patriotism. And what American hero wouldn't want that? Jesse Ventura comes back into the state of Minnesota, where obviously he'll reclaim and use the Minnesota Independence Party base to pursue his political hopes and objectives. And he is aiming at that libertarian wing. I'm Steve Carlson, Independence Party candidate for the U.S. Senate, and I am aiming at the independent voter, 41% of that Minnesota vote. You know, the 41%, to actually get the nation back on track. Yes, we're a free country, and therefore we need to govern ourselves. We've got to see our country through. It depends on you. It depends on free Americans like Jesse Ventura. Jesse got into this as governor of Brooklyn Center / celebrity. That's my old stomping ground over there by the old Shoppers City. Osseo, Brooklyn Center. From the Brooklyn Center job, in a weak year politically for the DFL and GOP, Skip Humphrey and Norm Coleman, with a libertarian streak of anti-smoking, Jesse Ventura shocked the world. He captured the governorship. And what motivated him ideologically? He says he's an independent, and he defines that as libertarian, which right now equals fiscally conservative, socially liberal. And that has actually been adopted as the slogan of the officials in the Minnesota Independence Party over there in Roseville. I believe in these final weeks, the Independence Party will shock the world just by remaining on the ballot, by grabbing 5% in the general election race. So it won't fall off the grid, meaning off the state ballot for federal elections. And to do that, you've got to put the right person on that general election ballot by coming out to vote in the Minnesota Independence Day primary August 12th. And you can't help but think that Jesse is behind a historic push to use Minnesota to put the Libertarian Party on the ballot in place of the Independence Party. That would require future elections unless he can use his newfound stardom to get behind Hannah Nicollet or Kevin Terrell, who seems inimical to Ventura because his only background is in the National Security Agency and working for the CIA. And he's only been out here 2 years. He's not a Minnesotan. I'm a Minnesotan. I can carry this party forward this year. We need to have a viable third-party movement. We cannot turn into the Libertarian Party in the state of Minnesota to back any kind of national campaign. Now, I like Ventura's energy. Franken's also a celebrity, Al Franken, who I'm running against. But I am not. I'm a serious politician who writes and performs songs and raps. Neither one of them can sing, can't write songs. Jesse is a more serious politician. He's not running for Senate, but he is now the head of the party, and Mark Jenkins just pays him homage. Jesse says he doesn't get support from special interests, but he is a special interest. Ora TV. Well, Jesse needs ideas for his TV show. I've looked over a lot of his shows. It's interesting. He's got some authentic ideas, but they don't lead to governance. Now, his tie-in with Republicans, with the establishment Republican Party, which I know he would deny, but there's a connection there. It's limited government. Now, I have a connection with the Tea Party, and I don't care if the government is limited, really. We want to cut federal spending. I don't see direct attacks on federal spending by Jesse Ventura. I don't see a jobs program. So he's naturally libertarian. That is to say, a government that doesn't do anything. Now, he does say fiscally conservative and socially liberal. And I do support his patriotism. And the day before he won, I urged that he be awarded damages. I have already mentioned him, not because of the Independence Party, but because he represents the hope in important Minnesota election politics of taking a lot of money out and of the independent voters. I suppose the independent voters wouldn't mind having someone with enough money to be viable. But like Ventura, they're not wedded to PACs. Now, he opposes the Koch brothers because they give to PACs, not because they give to candidates. But the parties, he says, are more evil. And I agree with him, because they created the PAC. Well, they also have created gender quotas, race quotas, and unconstitutional Minnesota statutes to keep you away from the precinct caucuses. How many of you went to your precinct caucus? Well, a lot has already been worked out for you, so that even when you vote in the primary, there's a lot that's set up. Although on the Republican side, there are a lot of important races like the Senate and the governor, these statewide positions, which are still wide open. So there's going to be a big turnout in the primary for Republicans. We need the independent voters to turn out, to stand up, to see America through. And I agree with Jesse Ventura. Go ahead, give money to candidates, he says, to get their message out. Money is speech, but don't give to corrupt parties to create PACs that manipulate highly expensive TV-driven campaigns. I'm trying to take the money out of politics, and I'm doing a pretty good job. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for you to come out to the independent primary, August 12th, and put the independent party on the general election ballot in future elections by voting for me. I have consistently beat that threshold, that legal requirement, which puts the Independence Party on the ballot, and I want to do that in a statewide election this year to keep the Independence Party alive and keep alive that vehicle for the 41% of Minnesotans who are independent voters. Do you want to go back to the days of just Democrats and Republicans? I don't. I actually found that boring. You're supposed to measure between two parties, which, yes, will take America in vastly different directions in some respects. But this does not allow a vigorous debate on these very important issues at the federal level. Now, I would take this socially liberal concept and I would put it in the context of reality. Now, America is socially liberal, but it is not only pragmatic. It secures rights of Americans to live the way they know is right, they know is best. And sometimes father knows best, and sometimes mother knows best. And our Constitution allows this freedom. This nation needs to be healed. We don't want to make life more difficult for people. We don't want government to hurt people, or people to hurt other people by using the force of the state. Why do we still have Christianity and other religions? Christianity has persisted since the nation was founded, because it is based on love. It is not based on draconian statutes and imperious appointed religious hierarchy. Christ did away with that by fulfilling the religious penalty for sin. Sin carries its own penalty, and Christians have sought to free men and women from that penalty, from that sin. America and its freedom represents that. So Jesse said he likes Jesus. He said his Jesus is the one who loved and cared for the poor. And this nation was founded on the idea, the hope and possibility that our society would be different. We would escape the rigid caste system of England with its upper class and the lower class, like Tiny Tim and his struggling father in Dickens' Christmas Carol. What will your Christmas be like a month after the election 2014? Will it be like Tiny Tim or like Scrooge? Or will it be something totally different, a distinctly American dream? And maybe your spiritual holiday includes Kwanzaa or Passover or another spiritual holiday, but you can still live the American dream. That is our business in this Independence Day in Minnesota primary, to craft a distinctly American dream, not to be or remain a lower class piece in a giant capitalist puzzle, and not to lord it over the serfs and peasants, as happened in the old Europe. And to do that, we have got to attack the federal budget. It is destructive and consumes the livelihoods of generations to come if we don't get our economy and society back on track. We need to attack these scams like subprime mortgages, these banking tricks to take private property from our people as a business and backed by the federal government. I have talked about consumer credit, how the banks use government, the federal government, and congressional action, a Civil War statute called the National Bank Act, to steal your money, steal your homes and property, and break up and destroy families, to take away your opportunity. Because your opportunity in the American dream is not just to work from paycheck to paycheck or from minimum wage to pay foreign lenders, out-of-state lenders, who have tricked you into unlawfully high interest rates. Then they can actually stop you from working or from renting a home. They can make you homeless. With the assistance of the United States Congress, Al Franken, who took $800,000 from Wall Street lenders, Mike McFadden, venture capitalist, Amy Klobuchar, prosecutor, cheered on by misguided DFL party members, including Congresswoman Betty McCollum and Congressman Keith Ellison. They're clueless and dangerous. And I hope Jesse would support more than libertarianism in the August 12th Independence Day in Minnesota primary. That he would support a man with a plan, me, Steve Carlson, for the U.S. Senate. I will continue to work to create jobs in Minnesota and to protect your constitutional rights and the Constitution itself. If you like Jesus, you like to hang out with the poor people, then you'll love America, and we do. We have a Constitution that's been tried and proven, and it secures the right of private property, and it secures inherent family rights, and to exercise your own religion. What would Jesus do? I believe he would say, let our Constitution work. Let our inherent and fundamental rights work. And I know Jesse agrees with me on this because I've heard him talk about the importance of free and fair elections. And I hope you'll come out to the August 12th primary so that the Independence Day and Independence Party will not become off the grid. Television on demand is another interesting idea, and I've watched some of the YouTube video Jesse Ventura has made for that. And it's good conversation. But to really make a difference, we as independent voters, 41% of Minnesota's voters, need to be on the grid, on the ballot in this election and future elections. We need to tackle federal issues like bringing the power and resources back to the state of Minnesota, where we can do it better. Governor Ventura tried his best to be fiscally conservative, to conserve the resources of the state, and to allow voters and property owners to conserve their resources. But it won't work if we allow the Democrats and the Republicans to hoard resources in Washington, taking the wealth away from the states and fashioning programs designed to redistribute wealth from Washington. A Governor Ventura would have had many more options to carry out the dreams of Minnesota voters if Washington had been fixed first. We need to fix Washington. Send me. I'll fight for voting rights. I'll fight for protection from oppressive lending. I'll work to create jobs, to preserve family rights, and allow you to pursue knowledge and education, knowledge that is now freely available for you to pursue in the light of the truth. Vote Steve Carlson for U.S. Senate in the Minnesota Independence Day primary election August 12th. Make it count. Make that primary election count. I'm Steve Carlson, and I approve this message.
Make it count. Let the voters govern. Our democratic system makes you the sovereign. I'm not a Republican, not a Democrat. Don't have a safe seat, not immune from defeat. I'm running from my office and I'm not standing pat. My congressional district stuck on Democrat. I want more economic development. I'm running for the House as an independent. Let's give the people back a little liberty. Let's let them all invest in their economy. Let's give them a chance to show their industry. Our hope lies not in homosexuality. Our hope lies in real marriage and voter ID. Let's break open that quota. Let's bring back Minnesota. Let's join the party of independence. Let's leave a world for our descendants. Let's bring them up so they can learn. Let's work together so they can earn. Let's help them raise a family. Let's build a just community. Make it count. Let the voters govern. In our democratic system, you know you're the sovereign. Vote for change. Vote for the unity party. Get to 12, we need American Community Party. We still have same-day registration. You just got to find your voting station. Then vote in the morning or vote in the night. Just vote to set your nation right. Vote for change.